Welcome to Built on Faith Homestead. My name is Justin, and today is Life Lessons with the Animals. See them chickens back here eating the food scraps from the house today. These chickens, as it gets about dusk this evening, as the sun starts to go down, these chickens will make their way up that ramp that you can see behind me and into that coop that's above me as I sit here on the ground hanging out with the chickens. Why do they do that? Well, as the sun goes down, they know that they need to head inside to their place of safety to coop up for the night. Even a chicken is smart enough to know whenever the time of the day is changing. We live in a ridiculous world. We live in a world where we have a president that can't finish sentences. We live in a world where men are calling themselves women and women are calling themselves men, where grown men are dressing up, really truthfully looking like clowns, and but looking like female clowns, and reading stories to our children, and many people are just falling in line acting like it is the greatest thing ever. Don't know which bathroom to use, and it's all in the name of social justice and equality, when you actually, if you will study those people out, a lot of that stuff, a lot of your especially your reading time individuals are pedophiles. They're actually predators coming in to hunt your children and to stalk your children like a lion stalks prey. We live in a time that is getting dark all the time, more and more dark all the time. However, this is a time the Bible predicted. The Bible predicted that we would live in a time like this. And the Bible says that it will only get worse until it is that the Lord comes back. Now, if you would ask me, what is the next step in biblical prophecy, right? So we already have the wars and rumors of wars. We already have, you could make an attempt to talk about pestilences for sure worldwide, and you could make an attempt to start talking about famines worldwide scale type things. It's pretty easy with a little bit of study to say, you know what, I believe the gospel has probably went all around the world, to all the nations. I don't believe it has to go to every individual. If you try to do a study on that, it's going to be very complicated, because some of those websites that look into this kind of stuff, they only consider the gospel going to a nation of something like 2% of that nation has been converted to Christianity. The problem with that is, just because they've heard the gospel doesn't mean they're going to convert. And so that number gets trickier all the time. However, I'd say it's fairly safe to say that it has went to at least the biggest majority of nations, if not all nations already. And so it seems like the next step in biblical prophecy is this rise of the Antichrist. And we as a church should get ready for those types of things. Now, some of you disagree strongly with me, and I know that. Some of you will say, no, the next thing to happen will be the pre-tribulational rapture of the church. And I disagree with you, and that's okay. We can disagree. However, persecution of the church is for sure going to happen and only get worse until it is the time that Christ returns, whether you believe in a pre-tribulational rapture or not. Therefore, if that's the case, we as a church needs to prepare for what the world's going to look like, not just physically, but spiritually. We need to be prepared down in our hearts, because we see the signs of the times. Just like these chickens back here know it's getting dark, it's time to go into the coop. We as children of God should be able to see, according to 1 Thessalonians, right? We should be able to know the time and seasons that we live in, because we're not children of the dark, because we are children of the light, and we can see the way the world is around us. Red-bearded, crazy preacher man, it's always been like this. It's always been crazy, okay? You can make an argument to say that there's always been elements of this craziness. However, whenever you start looking at a worldwide scale, we've not had it like we do today. That is one of the major differences between 2022 and any time in the past, is you are looking at a worldwide scale. You already have worldwide governments set up. Some of you are waiting for that. We're waiting for a worldwide government. Look into the UN. You already have a worldwide government. We are already surrendering our own control to the UN as United States. As the United States, we have already surrendered our control to the UN. We are no longer a free country, and neither is the other 190 some odd member states of the UN. Every one of them is under the UN Charter. And the UN Charter, if you are under the UN Charter, they can enforce what they want to enforce by force if they so desire. You are not a free country. There is already a worldwide government. Quit looking for it. It's already there. It's called the UN. We are already being patterned, and we are already being manipulated, and we are already being put into getting used to the idea of having to take mechanisms in order to operate in society. One of those mechanisms just came forward in a big, bright, and flashy way whenever we talk about a certain shot in the arm, right? However, other mechanisms around the world are gaining in popularity. CEOs of companies, of big companies, are already, right? This is not just some one-off people off in the middle of the woods somewhere that's decided, you know what, I think it's a good idea that we all take like a microchip so that we all have this data inside of us, right? Or we take some sort of nano technology into our bodies so that we have all of this data in us that can track our health and can track our finances, and it can be tied to our identification and all. That's not just a one-off idea. Like, these are CEOs and governmental leaders that think this is a good idea. Once again, all a part of the UN. If you can see those things around you, then hopefully you are trying to draw closer to the Lord all of the time. Don't wait until complete darkness to get into the coop, right? To get into that place of safety. Don't wait. Jump into it now. Get ready, amen, and prepare yourself, not just physically. See, us people, some of us that believe in a post-tribulation rapture, like myself, if we're not careful, I think some people will begin to only worry about the fleshly side of things. And they think if they do all of these, if they have, food, water, and shelter, that everything's going to be okay. And I believe we should learn about how to grow our own food and how to harvest wild, natural food and all those types of things. But you take a summer like this summer, everything is brown. Good luck finding much for wild greens around, because everything is brown and burnt up and dry. And the way that the Bible depicts the world before it is the return of Christ happens is that it will be very parched and very dry, and right, a third of the waters, right, bitter and not made good for anything, and all these kinds of things. So if you think you can prepare your way physically and everything will be okay, you're nuts. You can't do that. It's not going to work. Do you need to do some things? Absolutely. Should you learn some things? Absolutely. Should you learn about, there's one green plant beside me, and it's chicory, right? And chicory is still growing. And should you learn how to use chicory? Absolutely. Should you learn how to use plantains and clovers and take care of chickens and all that kind of stuff? Absolutely, you should. Whatever advantage you can have, that would be great, right? And not an advantage as in to take care of just yourself, but to take care of your family and your friends and those around you, and to take people in and to try to help them. That's part of it, right? However, you better learn to pray. You better learn to pray. You better learn to have some tenacity about your faith. You better learn to have some relentlessness about your faith. A faith that doesn't give up, and a faith that doesn't quit whenever the things around you. See, we here in the United States, so many of us, our faith depends on our blessings. And if we're being blessed the way we think we need to be blessed, then we're being faithful. But the problem is, our faith should not depend on our blessings. Rooster's crowing because he hears food and it's spiritual, right? Our faith should not depend on the physical blessings around us. Our faith needs to depend on our God. We need to put our faith in our God, in the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob, right? The God that sent his only son that we may have an opportunity for salvation. Our faith better get there. Understanding that if you're a child of God, that death itself has lost its sting. And even in Revelation 14, it said, those that die in this time, blessed are they, for they rest from their labors. Those saints that have to endure that time of tribulation. Guys, you better get prepared. If you are a lost chicken, if you will, some of these chickens, especially the younger ones, they don't know to go in the coop at night, and we have to help them, right? And then they learn from the older chickens and all that kind of stuff. If today you're a lost chicken and you look around the world and you just know it's crazy, but you don't know anything about it, I'm here to tell you, get into the Bible. And what you'll find is the Bible is right and the Bible is true, and it was wrote a long time ago and it had to come from somewhere. If it can depict with such accuracy the times that we live in today, then it had to come from something, right? It had to come from something that knew out ahead of time what it was going to be like, and had to have power to know that, and that had to come from God. And since the Bible is true and since the Bible is right, I reckon you ought to get a relationship with the one that created the Bible, right? I reckon it would be a good idea to get a relationship with the one that created those prophecies, the one that spoke through those prophets, and the ones that spoke through those writers of the Bible that we read today. Guys, time's getting dark. You better run to that place of refuge quickly. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.